Instagram also has a lot of other features like sponsored posts, shoppable posts, wherein you can convert your engagement very quickly to purchases.
Absolutely.
Right? YouTube, on the other hand, their algorithm works a little differently, wherein they don't just look at what the users are viewing, they also look at the watch hours. That is how long a user is actually consuming that piece of content. Then it tailors its algorithms to give you, say, more relevant recommendations. Do you think that user journey is something that brands can consider?
Absolutely. And we should probably not consider YouTube and Instagram as alternatives, but complementary. Instagram is an instant gratification, right? You go there, you find something, you can shop. Something like Shopify is at the back end.
Right.
You just click on the link, you buy, you're converted immediately, right? On YouTube, it's slightly more difficult, but then again, once you've got the engagement on YouTube, it's going to stay for much longer. You've hosted a video on YouTube, it's going to stay for perpetuity, right?
I think audience loyalty is
audience
more
loyalty
on YouTube than on Instagram. Hi everyone, welcome to Kofluence Unplugged. I'm Aritra, of course. Now, in the world of influencer marketing, choosing between Instagram and YouTube can sometimes feel like picking your favorite child, right? Extremely impossible to do, and it will definitely spark a debate. But don't worry, we've got you covered. Today, we will speak with our esteemed guest, who is Siddharth Hazarika. He is currently a director at Epsilon and truly a digital marketing veteran. He has worked with big brands like Accenture. So without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Siddharth. Hi Siddharth, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi everybody.
Thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
Before we dive into the subject in hand, I first wanted to check with you, like, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how it has been in the digital marketing space,
Sure.
how you have seen platforms like Instagram and YouTube evolve over the years?
Yeah. So I've been in the marketing industry for nearly 20 years now. Post my MBA, I started working with branding, marketing. Then I was a part of a consulting group for about 10 years. I've helped clients across various industries reach their marketing goals through automation, through technology. So, enable clients, reach their marketing goals via technology. That's what I've done most of my career. Right now, I see myself as an enabler, myself and my team, to reach out their clients through their customers and their clients through different various channels, email being the most prominent of them. So that's what my journey has been. As far as social media is concerned, it's always played a big part in the background. I mean, when I started my journey, there was no social media all those years ago. It's evolved. Initially, it was social media was only for people to connect, right? And the way it has evolved, especially in the last decade, as a marketing tool, as a brand building tool, is amazing. If you had told me back in 2005, 2006 that there is going to be this tool that can directly talk to customers, maybe I would not have believed you. It's an amazing achievement how far we've come. So I think it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's redefined. It's completely reshaped the landscape. But at the same time, what I'd like to say, it is another tool. Marketers always have had tools, be it signages, big banners, to now social media, right? It's a tool. It entirely depends on the marketer on what their needs are, how they want to use those tools at their disposal. So that's what I believe. We should see it as an enabler rather than the hero of the story, right? So again, that's what I believe.
Right. So today we're talking about social media platforms, specifically Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
Before we do, I just wanted to set some context first.
Sure.
So before, when we walked into, say, a brick and mortar store, we would typically expect the sales associate to be there, possibly walk us through the entire process, give it their personalized recommendations for us, and that's just something we are used to at this point. Customers experience, they want a similar experience on online as well, right? They want personalization, they want their experience to be tailored and customized as per their liking. That is where personalization comes in when it comes to social media.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
or if
absolutely.
you want to add on anything to
No,
that.
absolutely.
Right? So if I have to break it down, social media personalization is basically when you look at a customer's buying behavior and then you tailor the content and messaging at each stage of their buying journey, so that it is more specific to that particular customer.
Sure.
Right? When it comes to personalization and these different platforms, how do you think it plays differently when it comes to these two platforms? Specifically, I mentioned here Instagram and YouTube. Do you think there are any differences? Are there any difference in strategies that have to be adopted, or do you think it's more general?
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the word strategy, right? Strategically, I think at a high level, it's the same. What's your target, right? Your strategy is to reach your customer and address their needs. So going back to the brick and mortar example that you gave, it's quite interesting. Look, the rules of the game, or rather not the rules, but the aim of the game is the same, right? Let's say a game of football. It still remains the way it was played in the 50s and the 60s. It's still one team has to score more goals than the other. That's it, right? But how you tactically approach it is different. It's football managers, players, they'll introduce different ways of skinning the cat, basically, right? Similarly, that's what happens here. Earlier, when you walk into a store, even now, right, you walk into a Chroma, your sales associate will ask you, what are you looking for, sir or madam? What are you? What's the need? Let's say, okay, I'm looking for a television. What's the size? What's the size of your living room? How often do you watch it? What kind of content do you want to watch? Etc. etc. So that's the personalization, right? It's always happened. Now we are still asking the questions, but via different channels. So let's say YouTube, right? YouTube would be based on your browsing history, because YouTube is integrated with Google. It's a part of the Google ecosystem. So your the data that you yourself provide inadvertently sometimes is going to tailor your needs. It's going to show you specifically what kind of content you want to watch, and based on that content, the right message is going to reach you, or the right marketing message, the right product, or is going to reach you. Now, something like an Instagram, that I think is tailored towards a slightly different audience. YouTube is long form content, so you have more time. You have a more dedicated audience. Somebody's come to YouTube, then it's because they have already identified their problem, right? They already know that, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Let's say I'm looking to improve my health. So this is the kind of channel I'd look at. I'll go and check out a Andrew Huberman video, for example, right? So they already know. So half the journey is done. But for Instagram, you are still battling for eyeballs, right? You are playing with very, very small or short attention spans.
Right.
So people are browsing, and then they have to find something very, very interesting. That's when they engage. Right? So it's very, very different. Hence, are you asking the right questions still comes into play.
I think also we have to have a look at the algorithms, right?
Yes.
It's definitely different for both set of platforms.
Absolutely.
So I'll just give you some clear examples. Like when we come to Instagram, we see that Instagram definitely considers even your micro interactions. Say the pause on your post, the story rewatches that you do frequently, what are your quick likes, right? And it tailors its recommendations for you, that is in a way very, very hyper personalized.
Yes.
Because it tracks all these user interactions. Instagram also has a lot of other features like sponsored posts, shoppable posts, wherein you can convert your engagement very quickly to purchases.
Absolutely.
Right? YouTube, on the other hand, their algorithm works a little differently, wherein they don't just look at what the users are viewing, they also look at the watch hours. That is, how long a user is actually consuming that piece of content. So then it tailors its algorithms to give you, say, more relevant recommendations, right? It gives you, more relevant and more like the kind of content that actually makes you stick around and watch longer. So if I have to put it simply, would you say that maybe Instagram is the right platform for you to maybe first get that initial spark of interest because it is so bite-sized and snackable as compared to YouTube, which is more long format? And once you get that attention on Instagram, you redirect that traffic to your YouTube platform and then get that engagement wherein you can make them stay longer and possibly think of conversion. So do you think that user journey is something that brands can consider?
Absolutely. And we should probably not consider YouTube and Instagram as alternatives, but complementary. Right? To your point about the journey, Instagram is an instant gratification, right? You go there, you find something, you can shop. Something like Shopify is at the back end.
Right.
You just click on the link, you buy, you're converted immediately, right? So and at the same time, the community section, right? You can interact via hashtags. It's more of an influencer can go and directly talk to the customer based on what their preferences are. On YouTube, it's slightly more difficult, but then again, once you've got the engagement on YouTube, it's going to stay for much longer. You've hosted a video on YouTube, it's going to stay for perpetuity, right?
I think audience loyalty is
audience
more
loyalty
on YouTube than on Instagram,
absolutely.
I would say.
But but at the same time on Instagram, you're looking to make a sale, it's there, right? But selling something through YouTube is probably a slightly longer process. But then again, to my previous point, somebody has already come there, they already know what the problem is. When somebody buys something through YouTube, that repeat purchase or that loyalty is likelier. So that's how I would see it.
Let's think of it from the creator point of view. Say if I am a budding content creator and I am deciding on which platform I want to focus my energies on. If my primary objective is monetization, how do I earn money? Which platform do you think would be a better option?
To start with, definitely Instagram, because it will. Instagram is, I wouldn't say easy. Everything is difficult. Instagram is a shorter monetization cycle because again, you collaborate with people, you have the visibility. It's shorter format. It happens. It's quick.
Definitely.
With YouTube, you have to build that ecosystem. You have to have a channel that has that many subscribers, that many views. It's a slightly slower process. And of course, once you've had the engagement, like we mentioned before, it's a non-stop thing. But to start with, we can get higher engagement and more, I would say, more impactful engagement via Instagram initially.
For somebody who wants to pursue this as a career and they're thinking long term, as you rightly said, Instagram definitely has that instant gratification and you will also be able to possibly monetize faster than on YouTube.
Yes, initially.
Yes. But what we have seen is a lot of the times, and I think it's quite well established at this point, that YouTube is the more monetization friendly platform. Why? Because YouTube has more diversified revenue streams. You have ads, you have memberships, Patreon, YouTube partner program, right? Instagram, on the other hand, still primarily relies on sponsored content, right? In fact, I was just reading something recently and I came across that Instagram actually earns way more from its ad revenue than YouTube does. Why? Because Instagram actually doesn't share its ad revenue with its creators. YouTube, on the other hand, pays 55% of their ad revenue to the creators and the people who are actually creating the content on the platform. So Yes, definitely. YouTube is a very monetization friendly platform. In fact, in our latest report, 2024 benchmarking report that Kofluence came up with, we found out that more than 110 to 170K Indian influencers are currently on YouTube and earning money at this point, which is quite less than what we see on
On
Instagram.
Instagram, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, to get started,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, and Instagram, the Instagram content is easier to make.
Right.
Again, nothing is easy, but then Instagram, even if you just take a handheld camera and put something up, it is likely to get
Definitely.
visibility.
Definitely.
But for a YouTube video, you need a studio like this probably, or at least it has to be. The content has to be viable. It has to say something, even if it is not very long form, but at least something that is meaningful to the end user.
Right.
So you are right. Long term, it's got many more streams of monetization. It is YouTube, through affiliate partnerships, through ads, and YouTube, of course, shares its ad revenue with
Right.
its creators.
Right.
But again, long term, I think YouTube is what will keep you. And the other thing that I would like to bring up is the content on Instagram dies very soon. You put something up today, it's unlikely to, you search for it. You search for something. Let's say you put up a cooking video. You make a lasagna, for example. Today it's the top performing
Right.
short or reel, and then you look for it. Say a month later, something else has come up.
With YouTube, the SEO and discoverability is definitely on
Absolutely.
the higher end as
Much
compared to
higher. Because
Instagram.
there's Google involved,
Right, yeah.
So yeah, on
Totally.
see, the metaverse search capabilities are not as robust as what Google is. So it's definitely different. So, and because of that, your YouTube video can keep on making you money. You've put up a video today. If it's that impactful, it will keep on making you money for years and years. But Instagram, short or
Shelf
reel,
life is
its
not-
shelf life is very
Right,
very
right.
less.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, we talked about the brand POV, we talked about creators. Now, let's talk about the audiences, right? If I'm a brand marketer and I have to think about the purchasing class, from that purchasing class point of view, which platform do you think would be better if you are looking for conversion or sales?
Yeah. So again, it's for I had mentioned that the game has not, the main motive of the game has not changed. Segmentation, targeting, positioning was the main basis of marketing.
Right.
It still remains the same. The basis does not change. But how are we doing it? We have to first decide, as a creator, what's your offering? Who are you targeting? And eventually, these two things combine, and then you find your niche, right? So what are you trying to offer? Based on that, if it's a product that is more suited towards, let's say your demographic is more inclined towards short form video, shorter attention spans. Again, I'm not going to delve into specifics of the demographic, but you know how it is, right? So if you are selling something that is so, for example, I'm a big football fan. I found football jerseys on Instagram. So I liked it. It's personalized. It fits my needs. Made a purchase right there, right, from a consumer point of view. But on YouTube, that would be much more difficult. But then again, it's on Instagram, I'm unlikely to go back there and buy it again via Instagram. I know what that website is. I'll probably directly go there again. But through YouTube, it's, again, depends on what the product is. I mentioned health before, right? So let's say you go to Andrew Huberman or Thomas DeLauer and all these health influencers. You go there and you see that they are offering a discount through an affiliate link. So that's what you do. But you are likelier to have a repeat purchase there. You've become loyal to that. So again, it depends on what your product is, what your offering is, and who you're offering it to.
Right.
And depending on that, you choose YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah.
But of course, it can exist on both. Then it's not to say that you do one and not the other.
Yeah. I think the definition of purchasing class has also changed
Yes.
over the years.
Yes.
Right. What we saw.
Is that a need, or is it
Yeah.
just a just a desire?
Yeah, I mean, who's the purchasing class right now? Currently, what we've seen is, I mean, the recent years, the millennials are actually they've surpassed boomers.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm using the word boomer, but they have surpassed that category, and now they are the larger generation at this point of time. They also have a lot of disposable income. They have higher purchasing power, and chances are that will even increase in the upcoming years as their careers progress.
And
right?
the boomers have enabled the Gen Z and Gen Y because
Definitely.
it's their children, right?
Yeah.
So the boomers, when they were younger, they probably did not have that much
Definitely.
purchasing power.
Yeah.
But then even the younger generations, even if they're not working, they probably have the purchasing power.
Right.
So it's you can sell anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. And so first, one way to look at it is the purchasing, who actually comprises the purchasing class. But if you look at a more platform specific audience demographic, what we usually see is on Instagram, Instagram is more popular among the teen,
Yes.
the youth, right? YouTube, on the other hand, has a more diversified audience demographics, wherein we have Gen X, Gen Z, we have millennials, boomers also.
You have room for varied
Yes,
content
varied
on YouTube.
content, because YouTube also has a lot of educational and long format content, and that is something probably the older generation still enjoys
Prefers,
watching more so than something that's 30 or 60 seconds long, right? Attention span again is something that's a recent consideration. So given all of this, there are a lot of ways to look at it, like how do you actually find the right audience and which platform do you target. But I believe at the end of the day, brand marketers have to think about what is the age range of my target audience.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Where is my audience at? Is it at YouTube or are they at Instagram?
Yeah.
And based on that, you then amplify your messaging in a way that appeals to your audience and you cater to that particular segment.
Yeah.
So is that something you agree with as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, absolutely. See, on YouTube, earlier, say 5 years back, I would, if I'm looking for something, if I'm looking to solve a problem, how to install a camera or something like that, I suddenly found, bought something online, how do I do it? I'll first Google it, right? I'll find an answer on Google. Then I might land on a YouTube video. But now probably I go and ask ChatGPT, right? So what am I looking at here? So all of this information is then fed back, right? All of this is a closed loop.
Right.
That's how YouTube would recommend. So you are there with a problem, and something like YouTube YouTube already knows what kind of content. You earlier mentioned the length of the videos, the length of the content, the relevance, all of that. Yeah, Instagram. Somebody of my generation goes to Instagram probably only for jokes.
For memes.
Yeah, for memes. Yeah, meme is again a more loose definition, but yeah, for just to have a laugh. I mean, it's not very serious. I mean, if I accidentally find something worth buying, I will. But probably I'm not getting influenced. But for a younger generation, you're spending much more time on Instagram.
Right.
But in this industry, just because you have copied somebody doesn't mean that you are a late mover or something. It just means, you just have to do it better, right? I'll give you an example of search engines. What was the first search engine? It was not Google. It was Yahoo, right? And I remember the time when Yahoo was the one, and then Google suddenly comes to the picture. And it just did things better. We've forgotten that Yahoo was a search engine once. It moved later, Google, but then it's done things better.
Right.
So similarly, who knows, Instagram or something like Twitter might be a better platform in the future than Instagram. But today, everything has its niche. It's again coming back, circular logic, but depends on who your audience is. To your previous point, and what are you trying to offer?
Now, talking about social media platforms, a very interesting development that's happening currently is with TikTok. So there are rumors that TikTok may be banned in the US, and US actually is its biggest market. The creator economy globally, actually, it's more present on TikTok than on any other platform at this point. But given these fears, we are seeing a lot of TikTokers migrate from these platforms to YouTube, Instagram, and these other secondary handles. Do you think with this exodus happening, there would be any change in the influencer marketing industry? Anything that you foresee? And my second question is, do you think there would be any impact on the Indian influencer economy because of these changes or developments?
Yeah. I mean, we don't officially have TikTok in India.
Right.
So that's probably influences us less. When you look at TikTok versus Instagram, that's the more direct comparison, right? Short form videos. And Instagram actually, is the reels is actually something that is influenced or inspired by TikTok. But TikTok as a medium is for the lack of a better term, much more democratic than Instagram. Instagram, you need to look a little prim and proper. Your brands prefer it because creating a brand identity, because they're much more suave and better looking videos and content. TikTok, you can unkempt hair, or you can just go and create anything. You can make a.
I think TikTok also has a very niche communities.
Yes.
I've recently come across terms like book talk. So people who love reading books. So they are part of book talk communities. People who love fragrances. I'm personally a big perfume lover. There's something called a fragrance talk. So there's a talk with.
It's democratic, and you can find a niche for everybody. And just if you are a new content creator, TikTok is not going to ignore you.
Right.
TikTok can amplify you. In fact, it's harder for seasoned content creators to stay consistent on something like TikTok, because they might push you down. But on Instagram, once you are rolling, you keep rolling, you keep going up and up. So my point is that these two platforms are different. So if to your original question, if TikTok TikTok does go away, there will definitely be a vacuum, right? So what takes over is a question. You don't know. Instagram is not really like for like; it's different.
Yeah, definitely.
Somebody might come up with a different app, different solution for that. So, but look, TikTok is the fourth biggest social media platform in the world today, after Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Not in that order. But if it goes away, it's a humongous vacuum, especially for the US market. So, Instagram could take its place. Who knows? Even YouTube might just up its game and the shorts. Who knows?
I mean, ultimately, if TikTok were to go away, there would be two scenarios, right? If there is a ban, that is. Either we will see a change in ownership, which in turn wouldn't necessarily impact the user experience. It would still remain the same. Or we would see a scenario like it happened in India in 2020, wherein there would be a complete shutdown.
Yeah.
So that is something that's still up in the air as to how we will see this whole thing panning out. If it's the former, that there's only an ownership change, probably the users won't be impacted as much.
And that's a very likely scenario, because the motivation behind the ban, again, not to sound controversial or anything, is not so much to do with data privacy and all of those concerns, because those concerns are there in the other platforms as well, right?
Right.
It's just the link with the Chinese government.
Yeah. It's definitely more politically
That's more
driven.
political than anything else. So a change in ownership, that's very interesting. That could
Yeah,
happen.
that
Just
could
TikTok in its current form.
Yeah. Now, say TikTok does go away globally if there is a ban. What do you think would be the most likely scenario? Do you think that maybe it might make a resurgence after a few years, given how popular it is, given the demand for it? Do you think maybe Instagram and YouTube will absorb some of that user base? Or a third scenario wherein you see that probably an entirely different new platform will come up as its replacement?
In order for a completely new platform to come around, might be a little bit more difficult because there's already, I think, a whole generation has learned, has grown up with these platforms. They're already used to this. So if something takes its place, great. It is a possibility. But I think, in my opinion, it's likelier that something that is existing already would, fill in that vacuum.
Yeah, definitely.
It could be YouTube. It could even be X. Who knows? Because it might. So, for example, Instagram started Threads, but it has. I don't think it's so far gone anywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So with that vacuum, I think if some one of the existing platforms ups its game and tries to reinvent itself or provide or come up with an additional offering, then that I think is the likeliest scenario.
Even in India, when we saw initially when the TikTok ban happened, we saw homegrown apps and platforms like Moj, Takatak. I don't know if you've heard of them. There's Chingari, MX that came in, and initially they got a lot of support and enthusiasm, right? Maybe like these homegrown apps will actually be the answer. But unfortunately, they failed to compete with these bigger giants like Google and Meta. Why? Because firstly, they started coming up with their own alternatives to short form video content. Instagram has Reels, YouTube has Shorts, right? They already have an established user base. There is a very solid structure. There are robust features that these platforms have that these smaller apps don't have at this point of time.
And the integration with the rest of the internet does not
exist.
Right?
That ecosystem is something that they are not part of at this point of time. So definitely they kind of faded to the limelight. Do you think globally, if other such models are taken up, do you think we'll see a similar case study like we saw in India, or do you think it might differ in different geographies?
And India is much similar in terms of an ecosystem. If you compare it to the rest of the world, the whole world in general, compared to say China, it's a much more protected environment. India is still, we still have a lot of freedom of speech. It's still there. So what happened in India is likelier to play out in the rest of the world, in America, for example. So to our previous point, I think because these things, the new platforms, the new apps that had come up, they did not have the backing of a major player. So hence they did not have the integration with existing with the existing infrastructure. Definitely. So that plays a huge role. So if something new comes up, it will probably piggyback on one of the existing platforms. It might sound new, but then it's something that's already there. Again, going back to Threads is trying to sort of eke out its own part of the pie from Twitter, which is very difficult, or X. But then in this scenario where we are looking at something like TikTok going away, a vacuum will be there. Great. So a new iteration might fill it up. So, but then it has to have the backing, it has to have the integration, it has to have the support.
Yeah. I think only time will tell how things pan out.
It's evolution, right? It's how organisms evolve, how languages evolve. It's very difficult to predict. It's how things take shape, and we can only go so far in terms of predictions.
Right. Right. So before we wrap up, I thought we would do a quick segment of this or that. Sure. That is Instagram versus YouTube edition, since we are battling out the social media platforms today. So are you ready?
Yep.
Let's keep it rapid.
Sure.
Okay. So my first question for you is, which platform would you prefer for discovering new trends?
Instagram, I think.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah,
trends
it's
catch
trends.
on
Yes, catch on,
easier.
and people are most people are likely to post their new trends on
Definitely.
Instagram than YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube, when I am going to YouTube, for example, it's I already have an idea of what I'm looking for, but
Great.
I have a more open mind when I go to Instagram.
Okay. Which platform would you say encourages more audience loyalty?
YouTube, definitely,
Hands down.
absolutely, hands down.
Uh, if you are a brand marketer,
Mhm.
which platform would you rather prefer for brand storytelling?
I think in the long term, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
In the long term, to create that visibility, Instagram will help.
Mm-hmm.
They need to complement each other, but in the long term, YouTube with paid partnerships with influencers who have long form content that have big followings, I think YouTube would create a longer lasting impact.
Correct. On which platform do you think you see higher influencer authenticity? You think you see more genuine engagement and interaction?
Authenticity. Did you know that authenticity is the most searched word last year on Webster's dictionary?
Oh, is it? Interesting.
So uh, everybody wants to be authentic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's difficult to be completely authentic.
Yeah.
That's why TikTok is very different from these platforms.
But if you had to choose between Instagram or YouTube?
I think YouTube, is more authentic.
Authentic.
I think, for the lack of a better term, Instagram probably promotes a little bit more vanity than YouTube. I think authenticity is more on YouTube's side.
Okay.
It's not exclusive though.
Yeah. I mean, it's never a generic
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it differs
Sure.
from one influencer to another. My last question is, which platform do you think has more potential for growth in the next 5 years?
Growth, I still think it's YouTube. I mean, Instagram, again, I don't think it's saturated. Obviously, there's a lot of potential, but we have seen everything that Instagram can offer.
Mm-hmm.
It'll keep offering that for a long time. But YouTube, I think, because of the long form content, because of the different kinds of videos, because of different kinds of big content creators who are creating different kinds of content, I think that there's more variety, there's more scope. I still say YouTube.
So you are a YouTube fan.
I'm older. No, see, again, it depends on what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
If I'm
definitely.
looking for long form content, it's YouTube.
I mean, you obviously have your personal preferences, but as a brand
Absolutely.
marketer, you would have to think
And again,
differently, right?
Going back to my original message, it depends on what your positioning is, what you're offering, who are you targeting, and based on that, you have to ask the right questions. If the right questions are asked, you have your answer. Nobody can answer it for you.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah, with that, we are at the end of the episode. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Siddharth, for joining us today.
It's my
I
pleasure.
think definitely pleasure is all mine. And I believe our audiences will have some of their questions answered, especially when it comes to choosing between between Instagram and YouTube. And this is not something that just, brands struggle with. This is something even creators think about. Which
Yeah.
platform do I focus on? As an audience, we also think about, okay, which platform do I actually spend more time on? So, a lot of questions.
Sure.
Hopefully, we've been able to demystify some of these myths and some of these scenarios for the audiences. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a great time
Absolutely.
talking to us.
Yeah, my last message would be ask the right questions.
Yeah.
You're halfway there.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And with that, it's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Kofluence Unplugged. If you are not following us on our socials, what are you even doing? Do it right now. The links will be in the description box. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay happy, stay kind, and keep Kofluencing. Bye.